Ian Spears. And can we get a round of applause for everyone as we get Ian Spears? Let's go. Mr. Sky Andrews. Let's go, let's go. Ian, the co-founder of More Than Men, with myself and with Billy. Sky Andrews is an incredible, too many accolades to share with this one. He is my brother as well. Billy, co-founder of More Than Men, with myself. We have Dex as well, VP of Global Communications. And last but certainly not least, we have the incredible Matt Antrim, who is the husband of Linda. Excellent, CEO of Mindspace. We have incredible men here on the panel. Welcome, welcome. How are we feeling, guys? Well, just so you know, we've got 15 minutes. Please, let's start that timer. Right, so today we are going to be talking about the role of men. So how can we empower men to empower women? So the first question, don't worry, we're going to pass the mic across, is in what ways can men and women work together to break down gender stereotypes and biases? Who wants to answer that?
1, 2. Yeah, I'm happy to start on that. This is just my opinion, and it's just one of many ideas. I'm absolutely fascinated with relationship dynamics, how men and women interact with each other. And I would put this down as a tip. So I'll give you an example. So at least 10 years ago, relationships like marriages and relationships were born in 50% of all relationships and marriages were created in the workplace. So quite often people would marry their work colleagues. That's disappeared. It's completely changed the whole landscape, right? So now men are a little bit afraid to approach in the workplace now, right? So guys are a little bit timid at times. So my answer to that would be, it's always great to break the ice with humor, and I would advise women to be the leaders in this instance, and you know, crack a joke, make sure the men feel comfortable to talk to you, because a lot of guys are scared to speak to women. So I would say break the ice with them, make a joke, and the guys will feel comfortable, and then they'll come and approach you. So that's my tip for today.
Excellent. And Billy is an international dating expert as well. Thank you for that, Billy. Pass the mic. Who else wants to answer that?
Okay, I'm going to step back a little bit and firstly think about why. So going back over 10 years ago, about 2011, a colleague of mine, a female colleague of mine, gave me a couple of papers that spoke about diversity, studies that looked at organizations that were diverse and compared them to those that weren't, and looking purely through a financial lens at their performance. And guess what? The organizations that were diverse had outperformed the organizations that weren't. And not by onesies or twosies either. These were by many tens of percent. I can't remember the exact figures, but it was something like, for the top quartile organizations, they had a 35% higher return on equity than the bottom quartile. So, you know, just from a pure financial point of view, there is a value to men and women working together. And when I saw that, I mean, we'd been talking about me getting involved in the diversity agenda at work, but when I saw that, it suddenly hit home. Anyway, fast forward 10 years, and it surprises me how many of my male colleagues are still unaware of that. They all sit there thinking diversity is a nice thing to do, or we have to do it because it's a legal requirement. And they don't get that actually by supporting diversity and inclusion, that you will improve performance. So one thing we can do is try and raise that awareness, make sure people realize that there is a benefit to being diverse. When you start talking about stereotypes and biases, though, the biases bit I get, the stereotypes bit I think that we have to be a bit careful of. Because one of the reasons we get that increased performance through diversity is by bringing people's different perspectives in. And under stereotypes, yes, stereotypes in and of themselves can be bad when we're judging people according to a stereotype. But if we're talking about getting different perspectives in, what we don't want to do is dial that out. We want to have men coming in, being authentic. Someone used the word authentic earlier in the day. So allowing men to come in and authentically be in their masculine and bringing that masculine perspective in. But also, we want to make sure we're supporting women coming in and bringing in a feminine perspective, and not, women don't think that they have to be coming in and getting into a masculine perspective in order to work with men.
Love it. Thank you, Ian, there. And so, Mac, over to you. I'm going to ask you this second question, which is very much related. How can men and women learn from each other to become more successful and fulfilled in their personal and professional lives?
Thank you, Trey. Okay, it's a good question. Let me start with a story on that one. I remember I run events, boot camps, business boot camps, wealth camps, and I remember there was a lady who came and she learned some stuff. She said, when I get home, I don't think he's going to listen to me. I don't think he's going to allow us to implement it. So I said, you do what you need to do. This is the next date of my next wealth camp. Bring him along. Don't say anything, just bring him along. And to cut a long story short, they both came along, and whatever she's been trying to tell him for years, suddenly, apparently I had said the same thing, but he had listened to me. And he had listened to me, and they implemented it, and they started to improve their wealth. My point being this: at times in that relationship, you may be saying it and knocking your head against the wall. But if the two of you go and see an expert or a guru or a training camp, and you're sitting in the same room, listening to the same thing, well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever said to your partner, told them something, encouraged them in some way, and they didn't do it, but they come back from somewhere else, an event or a seminar, and say, we're here, we're going to do this. How many of you have ever experienced that? Right, that's the point I'm trying to make. So you may not be able to get across to them, but let someone else get across to them so you can still win the game. Right? So,
Do you like that, Sky?
no, that's a Sky laugh. That's a Sky laugh. So, to finish off, communication. So in answer to that question is, how can we communicate, whether directly or indirectly, with your men partner for them to actually take action? And not only in a relationship, but in a workplace as well. There are people who work for businesses. There are people who are business owners, entrepreneurs. And if the question is, how can women empower men to empower women? Men, first of all, we've got to learn to zip it and do more of listening, yes or no? That's a practice, and it's not easy for men, Sky, is it? It's not easy, but that's a practice. Right. He says, speak for yourself. But that's a practice. The other thing is this: inequality in the workplace. When, as women, as men, when we see it, I think we have to speak up. Because keeping quiet about it is actually agreeing to the status quo. And so some women, and Mirella said this earlier on, lack confidence. Not all women, most women lack confidence. And so to speak up in a workplace means maybe you may lose your job or lose your position. But one of the techniques I've taught my clients is this: I've just heard you say this, or I've just heard you do this. This is how I feel about that. So instead of going in aggressively, the way to help someone to actually say, actually, no, that is wrong. Nobody can judge how you feel. What I just saw, this is how I feel about it. Can we discuss it? And so now men generally will stop and listen and hopefully take action. Thank you, Trey.
Oh, thank you. You might have just saved some relationships there. Thank you. And then Sky, over to you as well before I come to Dex. Sky, same question. So how can men and women learn from each other to become more successful and fulfilled in their personal and professional lives?
Well, I founded the Inspiration Awards for Women in 2008 because women were basically being portrayed badly. And when I say being portrayed badly, I mean, if you look on the front of a lot of the women's magazines, if a young kid come out of school and went into a magazine shop, the women they saw or they see on the front of magazines aren't inspirational. It's just tittle-tattle, and it's female and male editors putting out negative images of women, like women don't do anything. And so the best way for us to help each other is for men and women to work together in business. Men and women, because women bring something different to men, men bring something different to women. But a lot of the time, to be honest, women are underestimated and women are not valued. And sometimes women are not taken seriously. So the way to actually bring women up is for men to value women and to understand that there's some very talented women out there, build business, build global business. Because a lot of the time when you see people that have getting profiled for global business, it's invariably men. How many women do you see out there that are in a partnership on a global front, or are profiled as inventing a business, creating a business? So there's no doubt about it that men and women working together is better than a man and man working together. There's no doubt about it, because women bring something different to the table. So we've all got to play our part. Men have got to value what women bring to the table. Women have got to stop having these conferences with all women and let a few men in. But the reason why women are so strong together is because they feel that they need to be strong together. They need to, in numbers together, and to say, let's champion each other. Because if men are not going to value us, if men are not going to champion our skills and what we've got, well, we're going to get together and the sisters are going to bring it on.
Excellent, thank you. And Dex, I'm going to throw the same question to you, and I really want to get a sense of specifically what men can learn from women, because especially business seems to be a more slightly patriarchal type space. What can men learn from women?
Oh, I mean, I think they can learn everything, right? This is the thing, right? When we think about diversity and inclusion, these aren't separate topics from all the things that make up core business performance. Actually, what we know is, as we've heard already, diversity and inclusion are mission critical. They are completely integrated and inseparable from all the things that we need to do as businesses. So if you're a man, you can learn from women on anything, absolutely everything. And that's why, particularly, as men who work in businesses, I think my entire panel feel a very strong obligation that we need to be partnering with women, we need to be learning from women, we need to be supporting women in every part of the business, really, so that we advance. I do think the other thing that we should think about is something that my former colleague Sheryl Sandberg used to talk about. I used to work for Sheryl at Facebook many years ago. And
It's a big name drop.
It's a big name drop.
Great name drop.
One of the things that Sheryl used to talk about a lot was the importance of having hard conversations. There are things that in every organization, over time, we stop talking about them, particularly as organizations get more complex. There are things that your boss believes and you disagree with quietly, but you don't want to bring them up because you feel you'll get in trouble. There are things that they're just orthodoxies. Everyone in the company knows that's the way we do it. Why would we change it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it is one of the most dangerous and pernicious ideas you can ever get in a company, because that's when the company stops innovating. That's when you fossilize. So actually what we need to do is ensure that there are very few things that are considered off limits. And that's the thing that men and women can both do within organizations. Really ensure that we are taking on the hard topics that may be untouchable, and we make sure they're not untouchable.
Excellent, thank you, Dex. Right, the last question is a subject that's quite close to my heart, because as many of you know, Ines is my other half. And for me personally, I think supporting your partner in achieving their goals, for me, is something that's pretty paramount, and I think it's absolutely great. I know for some men it's quite threatening to potentially have their spouse overtake them, so it's a question I'm really eager to get what you guys' opinion of this. And this question is this: how can men and women support each other in achieving their goals and overcoming challenges? Who wants to be the first one to tackle that question? Okay.
No.
Yes, Sky.
Excuse me? No, the thing is, because there's an imbalance in the world, that mainly women support men and men don't support women. Not overall, but generally. You see very few Treys. See, Trey supports it. What are you smiling for, brother? I know him. He supports Ines. And Ines overtook him about 2 years ago, yeah? So if you imagine that they're running a marathon, he's still running, and Ines is at home having something to eat, that's the kind of image I want you to understand. So, no, seriously, no, but the balance has got to be redressed. Men have got to start supporting women, And like Trey, who's the modern man, you've got to accept it. If your woman has got certain skills, don't get in her way. Let her flourish and support her.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, to keep it real, I've been married, obviously you know my wife, Linda, 22 years. 22 years, our eldest child is 21. So, 22 years, you can imagine that there can be some disagreements. And certainly in the early years, there were. And we run businesses together. So what we found that works is this, in answer to your question. We went through some profile analysis in terms of what our strengths are. And so we divided our companies in terms of who's going to focus on what. And since then, it's worked very, very well. So stop the arguments, who's focusing on what, who's dealing with we've got multi-million-pound real estate property business, we have a training and coaching business, and other things. But in the early days, it was Linda supporting me. And I took it for granted. And there came a point where we've had children, she was finding her way, and naturally, I fell into just supporting her to do what she wants to do. Me being here, a global woman, is supporting her because it means a lot to her. And other things she gets involved with because she likes to empower other women and mothers. I support her in doing that. So I coach her in that. And I know not every man can do that. But essentially it goes back to my other point, which is men, we've got to learn to listen, practice listening, and support where we can in terms of what Sky is saying as well. Thank you, Sky.
Excellent, excellent. Right, let's get the last word in.
Okay, I'll take that one. And you all know who my partner is as well, don't you?
Who's your partner?
So for those who don't know, who is your partner?
My partner is at the back waving at me, and it's Morella.
No.
Morella Sula.
So, yeah, the global woman, I have to be careful. But I'm going to focus on men here and what men can do to help. Because I think a lot of it comes down to perceptions of what masculinity is. And, you know, we've all been brought up with a certain view of masculinity. And unfortunately, it's based in history and based in a world that doesn't or shouldn't exist right now. You know, one where men are dominating, men have to lead, but lead means that we're dictating to a certain extent. You know, and that can ultimately get through to what people call toxic masculinity. I think for men, we need to let go of that, and it comes from our ego. And our ego is all about judgment, judging what's going on around us and judging ourselves as well. And that stops us, and I'm going to say authentic again, it stops us being authentic because we don't know our true selves and we don't allow our true selves to show up. We start being this person that we think we are supposed to be, that we think will help others judge us the way we want to be judged. If we can get past that as men, if we can actually, you know, learn who we are and show up authentically and supportively, we will get out of our own way. And rather than, you know, when we're trying to work with someone, we start wanting to take over, we start wanting to fix everything, regardless of whether it needs to be fixed. We want to be seen as being, you know, meaningfully contributing and actually helping bring someone along rather than supporting someone. We can do that. We can get out of the way and, you know, ask questions like, what do you need? Rather than saying, you need this. And for men, that's difficult right now. They do need to, it's a struggle for them to let go. You know, it's one of the things we're trying to do with More Than Men, is to coach men to get in touch with, take a good look at themselves, find out what they really want, what they really are, and try and put their ego to one side and not care about judging. Don't judge other people and don't be judged. And in doing that, you know, they become more grounded in their masculinity, become, if you will, you know, a lighthouse, a safe port, if you need it, but not something that's forcing itself on someone. Hopefully that resonates. But yeah, you know, I think there's an awful lot that men can do to support women that we're not doing today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ian. And just to touch on that, so myself, Ian and Billy have created an organisation called More Than Men. So if there's anyone that is perhaps in a relationship and your man isn't quite pulling his weight, and maybe you're thinking of getting rid of him even, we've created an organisation to support men because I think it's very obvious that a lot of men do need support in order to be the most powerful version of themselves. Not the toxic variety, but in their grounded masculinity that's not threatened by their partner's success. So that's what we're creating. So I think, see one of these two guys, my partners or myself, if it's something you think your partner would benefit from, that level of training, coaching, mentoring, and support. Because, ladies, we agree that men need a bit of that, don't they? Men do. There
We've
we
got
go.
a lot of work
Resounding
to do.
yes. We have got work to do, and we are spearheading that movement that men become the best version of themselves. So, guys, thank you. I wish we could have gone on longer, actually. I'm the one that's made it a bit shorter. But, guys, thank you so much for being here. Guys, please give a round of applause, please, to Ian Spears, Sky Andrews, Matt Cattram, Billy Reid, and the incredible Dex Hunter Torrick. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Make the body move. You guys, are you enjoying that? Did you enjoy the only guys you're going to see on stage today, pretty much? Or the only male panel? Thank you, thank you. Right, the next section is going to be the media panel. And let's have a look. So, the panelists for this are, if you can just come to the stage, John Cross. Is John here? Yes, John. John is the sports editor. Sports editor for John.
The Daily Mirror.
The Daily Mirror. Guys, are we spoiling you today? The Daily Mirror. The next person we have on stage is Sarah Teteth, and she is the showbiz journalist at The Sun. Is Sarah here? Sarah's going to be here in 2 minutes. And we have as well Darren Lewis, who is a Sky News anchor. Oh, Darren is not here? So Darren is the assistant editor of the Daily Mirror. Darren, can you come to the stage, please? And we also have Matthew Bell, editor of The Sun on Sunday. And last but not least, we have Gillian Joseph, Sky News anchor. Gillian? Right, guys. Please give a round of applause for these guys, please. Oh, nobody told me I'm moderating this. Now I know. Welcome, welcome. Some very familiar looking faces up here. Absolutely love it. Right, so in this session we'll be exploring the media and how to gain more media and visibility for women. So like the last panel, we're going to have 4 questions, and we're going to start with ladies first. And the question here is, how do you craft a compelling message that resonates with your audience?
Right, okay, that's a huge question because it depends what the message is. Well, basically, you have to create interest. There has to be a reason for people to come to you, to watch, to read, whatever it may be, you know, social media also. So usually, outside of my arena is news. So outside of news, actually, a very quick shorthand way to get people interested is celebrity. So, you know, if you've got a product that you're launching or there's a story that you want to bring to the fore, if you can get Kim Kardashian to come down and open your store or launch your product, then that gets people immediately interested. It's an incredibly difficult question to answer because I haven't been given a subject. You know,
I actually want to make this real, right? Is there anyone here in the audience that is maybe struggling with creating a compelling message for yourself, your personal brand, or anything like that? Anyone? Okay, please. One second. Let me just give a mic. Right. If you just stand up.
Hi, I'm Anna Maria Thanasiou. I write romance novels, and it's a huge genre. Obviously, there's so many great authors out there, and I want my product, obviously, out there, people reading it. I've been on bestsellers lists, but I'd like to know how to get my books in front of the right people, because my dream is to eventually get them on the TV in a miniseries, and I would love to know how I would be able to do that.
Anyone wants to answer that?
Okay, I mean, just first of all, I'd say, what's your unique selling point?
Yeah.
what makes
Okay.
you different to everybody else,
Right.
because that usually will be the point of interest.
Right, okay. So in my case, I have no literary background whatsoever. I'm a housewife, or I was, and I wrote in secret. And never thought I would publish my books. And somebody got hold of my books, decided to publish them for me. And for me, that was my dream come true. And the most sort of funny part to that is that when I was writing It Is Secret, my husband didn't even know. So he actually thought I was having an affair because I was so secretive. And then when I fessed up and said, you know, actually...
Compelling message.
Yeah,
See, that's your story. That's your story.
That is exactly.
So that would be at the top of your press release if you're sending out to try and
Yeah.
get interviews on television. And if I were the journalist, I'd probably want you to come along with your husband and do an interview
Okay, he would
together.
hate that. Yeah, sure.
But come to the Daily Mirror first.
There you go, they're pitching now.
This is my exclusive. Thank you very much, Darren.
That's how you do it. They're fighting over you now.
A bidding wars. Right, I'm going to pass on to somebody else, though.
Listen, I'm just going to follow on from you both, really,
Yeah.
because, as always, Gillian spelt it out really well, but you spelt it out even better, because I think you already have a compelling message, and it's just a question of knowing how to tell it.
Sure.
And actually, my answer is an extension of some of the superb answers I've heard in some of the previous panels, because I think a common theme through all of the panels was confidence and how to be concise and how to sell yourself and how to actually believe in yourself. And I think a lot of what happens if you aren't a middle-aged man in the workplace is that it's very easy not to believe in yourself. If you're the only person in the room, if you don't have the support of other people, it's very easy to think nobody's going to listen to me. My message doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you've just stood up and in a minute and a half told everybody in this room, your message matters.
Thank
So
you.
I would say, be yourself. Sometimes, we think we have to change to adapt. And the reality is, the world has to change and accept we're there and to see us. And we can all see you. We can all hear you. I think that you got your own message. Don't rely on us to tell it. You
That's
tell
very
your own
kind.
message.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I echo that, really. I think in the media, it's what we call a hook, isn't it, really? It's a point of interest. It's something to get out there that would resonate. And the story, I'm sure Matthew would, I mean, in terms of sort of the front end of the book, it's kind of, it's telling your story. Your story's a really good one. But I think it's finding that initial hook to get that point of interest in the media, to find something different to... I'm trying to think of a sort of kind of recent sort of romantic novels that might have kind of just resonated across in a similar way, that maybe have picked up some interest. Obviously, the first port of call would be to get it televised, to get a screenplay for it. But beyond that, I guess it's getting that publicity out there, to making yourself different, to making your story heard, and to give it that media hook, if you like, that makes it newsworthy. Because, I mean, we're journalists here, to attract that interest and, perk up our ears, I guess, and kind of get us interested, is that all-important hook to make it stand out from the crowd, to make it really resonate. And I think I do look at so many, all press releases that I get sent. I get sent so many emails a day now, and the common thing is like 2 days later, "Hi John, I just wonder whether you've had a chance yet to look at my." I mean, honestly, it's become like double infuriating, really, because the point is, if you send out a really good, eye-catching email to, or a story or something that is going to catch your eye and make that point, you need to be doing it at the top. Don't bury it. That first point of contact, that first introduction into you, I'm either going to read on or I'm not. And basically, you've got such a great story there. I just want to read that you know, right at the top.
Come and find me later and I'll
Absolutely.
tell you all about it.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that presentation, that
Yeah.
getting your message across, as you've done to us, that's what it's all about.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Just to reiterate what you were saying, you buried the point about your husband thinking you were having an affair because you were so secretive. It was probably about halfway through what you were saying. That should be the top line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm from The Sun. I'm not the editor, by the way. I'm the news editor. But in fact, the editor is a woman. Power to the woman. Yeah, it's just, it can be very difficult pitching stories, ideas to newspapers. I know that. Mm-hmm. You could send in a press release, not hear from anyone, send it again, not hear from anyone, as John says. It's perseverance, ideally trying to target the right person for your particular story. It would, on The Sun, it would be the features editor. And I would just say at the very top of your email, I was being so secretive about writing my romance novel that my husband thought I was cheating on him, and that will catch the attention. So that's it. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. In fact, I'm going to keep giving it to the audience because you guys have got an incredible opportunity with some of the most powerful people in the press. Is it Sarah coming to the stage? Thank you. Please, a round of applause, please, for Sarah Teta. Let me pronounce it right. Teta. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Sarah. Excellent. Who else has got a question they want to ask? Perhaps you've been trying to pitch to press and it's not quite worked out. Over to you.
Hello, I'm Julia. I have been in the press a few times, but I'm finding it challenging because I do so many different things. So the latest, the way I present myself, someone asked me, what do you do? I find it so hard. So now I'm saying, I'm the diamond huntress and the hypnotherapist. Because the things that I do are so different. I'm a travel agent, I source diamonds, and now I'm training to be a therapist. So, and in all of the ways, I have an interesting story, but how to put it together for it to be that one person?
That's a great question, guys, because a lot of people seem to do a lot of different things, and therefore they're sort of, the brand may be a bit disjointed, right? What tips can you give people, for instance, in that situation where it's all, there's different things they do?
I'll be brief with this one, but I think the way that the media has changed actually presents an opportunity to somebody like you who is so good at so many different things. Everybody right now is a publisher. Everyone doesn't realize it, but the digital media explosion means that you have a space to be able to be yourself and to be able to specialize, as you've been telling us, in a wide range of things with which you can capture the imagination of a lot of people. So rather than worrying that there are too many things and maybe people might not grasp exactly what I can do, embrace that fact and embrace the fact that if something were to happen in the news agenda, John talks about the hook. There are so many things that your expertise can speak to. And it goes back to a combination of what we've all been discussing so far today. Confidence, clarity, the ability to believe in yourself and to believe in your message. If you've got that, it's actually easier than you think.
And Sarah?
Hi there. Just want to say, that's fantastic that you can do so many things. I think you can see yourself as a bit of an entrepreneur. Who knows, you could be like the next Kim Kardashian. She can do so many things, you can do so many things, you know. And in this day and age, it's important for everyone to just use all your skills. You don't know which one is going to come through for you. So if you've got so many skills, then just put them all out there. If there's one that shines the most, then maybe you can focus on that a bit more. But also use social media as well. That's going to be your number one tool, your friends, let everyone know your personality and just go for it.
But that's why I'm finding it challenging. And people around me keep telling me, focus, focus, focus. I was married and my ex was telling me, you need to focus, you're so good at diamonds, just stick to diamonds. And I was like, no, I want to also sell horses and haute couture dresses and, you know, I like to travel. And, you know, hence I'm divorced. I just want to do all the things, and anything that interests me, I do it. And I'm good at it because I like what I do. So on social media, again, I think they're all confused because one day it's diamonds, then it's me traveling, and then it's now me healing people.
I think the most important thing is to do you. If that's you, then that's
That's me,
fantastic.
that's
Don't
me.
apologise, just do you.
But
And
when
it was shown through.
approaching the press, then where do I start? Which story?
That's for you to decide, isn't it?
I mean, that's interesting, guys. Are there particular
I
stories?
think you have to decide what it is you want to bring to the press.
So I have to choose. At the
Yeah,
end.
you've done lots of different things, but like the hook that we explained with the novelist,
Okay.
you've got to come with a specific idea, I think, in the first place, to at least grab the attention.
Okay.
And then, in a conversation, it might become apparent. Actually, we're more interested in some of the other things that you've now mentioned. Okay. I think in the first instance, you've got to decide yourself. I want to go to the press to tell this particular story.
Thank you.
I just want to ask, following on from that, are there particular stories for you guys? Obviously, you're at the other side of the Iron Curtain, it seems, for people on the other side. Are there some stories that just naturally resonate more than others?
Yeah, I think the journalist in us, and particularly sort of the tabloid brain, basically immediately clicks into gear. I mean, I think as journalists, as we all are, you just have an inquisitive mind. You have a sort of, attention for detail. You have something that is going to excite you, attract you. I mean, the reason I think we probably got in it in the first place is that fascination about something different, about a story. And it's just, I guess it's just kind of making us, excited. But it's beyond us, isn't it? It's about what the reader then wants to read. It's about what makes a fascinating story. It makes it different. It makes it exciting. If you have a story to tell on a particular issue, I'm very much like Matthew. I do think, why limit yourself? But if you're targeted on one particular angle, it's that particular angle that we seize upon and make us interested. I mean, I could have a long conversation with, I don't know, whoever it might be, a sort of a football agent. I'm in sport, We could go on for about half an hour, and basically in the 29th minute, it suddenly drops, this little nugget about something, and it might not even be something that he thinks of as a story, but it's gone, it's in there basically. It's just, it's amazing what makes a story, and sometimes it's the most obvious thing, but I think it's that inquisitive brain in us that makes us journalists, hopefully.
Excellent. And I want to ask the ladies at the end there, because obviously it's a Global Women's Summit, and I want to know, for a lot of the people in there are entrepreneurs. Who hands up, who's an entrepreneur in here? Do you find, in terms of news media, that it's more difficult for female entrepreneurs to actually penetrate the media than it is for men? And if so, has it changed much in recent years?
I think it has changed in recent years, and I think actually there's more of an interest in female entrepreneurs because it has not been the norm up until now. So I think actually that puts you, in terms of, say, press releases coming in to an organisation, it probably puts you at the top of the pile because it is something different. For me personally, I think it's interesting when you hear from, say, entrepreneurs who aren't following the mould. So, I mean, that's a bit of a stereotype. So not the mum of three who was bored and decided to, make a business out of, I don't know, baby food or whatever, but something a little bit more out of the ordinary, something extraordinary. As we were saying, that top line, that hook. But I think it's easier for women now than it has been to get noticed.
Excellent, thank you. Sarah?
Yeah, actually, I echo what you're saying, definitely. I think, though, as a woman, we've got to work a lot harder, in reality, to stand out. I think if a man sometimes brings an idea to a table and the woman brings an idea to the table, who are the editors going to listen to first? Sometimes it can be the man. So you've got to be extra. You've got to be, that bit better. You've got to you've got to shine. If you're amazing at something, just believe in yourself and don't stop till your idea is heard. And when it's heard, then just keep running with it, and you will succeed. But you've got to break through. You've got to keep pushing, and you'll get there.
Excellent. Right, Sarah, keep a round of applause for that, guys. Sarah, keep the mic, because most people probably will see you guys and you're at the top of your professions. And because this is an inspirational conference, I just want to get a short, no more than about 30 seconds, a short inspirational story from you guys of how you overcame the challenges that led you to the top where you are now.
I'd say, for me, I was working on a local newspaper, and I was in the Folkestone Herald back in the day, and I was told, oh yeah, just stay small, stay with the local people, and you probably won't make it through. But I was a bit sort of cheeky and a bit crazy in a way, and I just went out and I got in touch with the 3am girls, and they were the showbiz queens at the time, and I ended up multitasking, moonlighting, so I'd do my day job, and the night I'd go and do stories for the 3am girls, and I just kept grafting, and I think also personality helps when you can talk to lots of different people and, get interviews and stuff like that. And I just kept grafting, and eventually there was an opportunity for me, and I got in there. So people can tell you, oh, might not make it. There's not many women in the industry, especially women of colour and stuff like that. But you just got to keep going, and just, if you believe in yourself, just power through.
Love it. Lots of graft and tenacity. Excellent, excellent. Gillian?
Right, I haven't really thought about this.
Got you guys on the spot. I love it.
Yeah. When I was training, I got a bursary to do my postgrad in journalism from the BBC. And it was, I did a postgrad at City University for a year. And when I finished, because I was sponsored by the BBC, I knocked on the door and said, right, I'm finished, where's my job? I said, it doesn't really work like that. I said, well, what's the point of training me, spending this money on me, and then allowing me to go off to ITV or CNN or wherever? This is absolutely a waste of your money and my time, really. I jumped up and down and shouted a lot, and they said, okay, go off and see the head of news in Manchester. And I thought I was going up for a chat. Ended up going up to Manchester, and unbeknownst to me, I was given a news and current affairs test on the spot. Wow. And then he said, right, come along, you can start as a researcher, and this was on the regional news programme. So the point being that if I had just listened to the BBC, I would have gone off in a completely different direction, but I actually demanded a job and demanded that the money they spent on me, that wasn't the end of it, and that they owed me a position. So it was basically, my saying is that if there's a door slightly ajar, then kick it open. And that's what I did.
That is a message. Kick it open. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just be very quick, very similar to Sarah. I was on a local paper, wanted to work on a national paper, so had to moonlight at the weekends, work 7 days a week, but that's what I wanted to do, and just kept pushing the door, and eventually it opened. So yeah, just persevere and believe in your own ability. That's it.
For me, it was slightly different in so much as I did a number of different jobs at the same time before I was given one job at the Daily Mirror. But I just felt it was important to just take anything I could. Some of it was unpaid, but it helped me to get my foot into the door. Some of it helped me to diversify, like yourself. And once I did get in the door, and this is what I mean about believing in the power of your voice. For a long time, I didn't believe in the power of my voice. I didn't believe that what I had to say mattered. And then for a while, I decided, I had some good people around me who managed to inspire me into believing in that power of my own voice and honesty and just being myself. Because I think there were times during my journey when I probably tried to adapt to what was around me. And then I realized I just wasn't happy doing that. And being in rooms and being a different person to who I was and thinking, if I'm myself, is that going to be negative for me? And then eventually I decided, no, I'm just going to be me, and I'm just going to say what I think. And if somebody doesn't like it and they say, thanks for everything, goodbye, that's okay. The world's not going to end. But it means that wherever I get to, I know that I've got there being myself. And that's why I always tell younger people, sometimes people say, oh, if you're a journalist, are you going to mentor kids and what do you teach them about the industry? It's not necessarily about the nuts and bolts of the industry. It's how to be yourself in that space. That is so, so important, because when you get to where you want to be, the journey is so much more satisfying.
Love it, being your authentic self. Thank you.
Well, I'm a similar sort of career story to Sarah that started us off, and Matthew indeed. It sort of kind of started on local papers. And I must say my kind of big life lesson out of this would be overcoming myself, really. I kind of was incredibly shy when I was young. And sort of, you know, being shy in a journalist probably isn't the greatest of ingredients. But I do think, as my first editor always said, there's more than one way to skin a cat, if you like. And then basically sort of you can approach it slightly differently. And, you know, I've come out myself clearly in years when you gain confidence and what have you. But I don't think there's anything else to replace being polite, punctual, and actually I always like to think of myself as quite nice, approachable. And there's different ways about going about it. And you gain confidence, you gain self-belief. And I think you grow as you get older but really pushing yourself through those sort of open doors that you were talking before, just bursting through and trying to sort of make a difference. I remember my first newsroom and my first local paper was so intimidating, it was so loud. And there I was in the corner thinking, is this really for me? And and it's almost you've got to overcome your own inhibitions to think that's what I want to be, that I'm still going to, get over myself, if you like, and become the best person, that I possibly can. I still sometimes struggle a little bit with small talk and things like that, because that's my natural shyness. That's the way I am. I like to think I've overcome it largely, but, just push yourself.
Wow. I actually wish this could carry on all day, guys. It's been absolutely incredible. And guys, you've heard it, being tenacious, ignoring that inner voice. We heard surrounding yourself really with people that see you at your greatest self, pushing those doors, ignoring the barriers, and keep going through. Guys, seriously, thank you so much. It's been an absolute honor and privilege having you all here on stage. And guys, make sure you talk to these guys if you can grab them and share your story. Guys, thank you. Round of applause, please. Massive round of applause.